Welcome to the Purple Warriors podcast. I'm Ali Sugars, your host, and thank you so much for joining me. This podcast is about raising awareness for domestic abuse by allowing survivors to share their own stories and journeys to recovery. It's also about assisting fellow survivors to give you practical yet powerful information that will help you on the road to your recovery. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome everybody to our very last Purple Warriors podcast for 2019. What an amazing beginning we have had to the beginning of the podcast over the last 6 months. And I would just like to extend a huge thank you once again to every single one of my guests who has come on and shared their expertise and often their very personal stories. And I would also like to in particularly thank every single one of my listeners who have supported the program over this time. We have some extremely exciting things planned for the future and for 2020, and I do look forward to sharing them with you in the months to come. And most importantly, I look forward to continuing to support you in your journey of recovery from abuse. Or if you are someone listening to this to learn how to help someone in an abusive situation, I look forward to educating and supporting you as well. But before we say goodbye to the end of the year and even this decade, we have today's topic to discuss, and we are going to talk about combating loneliness at Christmas time. So, for most people, the summer holiday period, and in particular the Christmas and the New Year period, are the best time of year. They are often our favourite time of year. But let's of course not forget those of us who may find that this time of year is often the worst and the most painful and the loneliest. Now, there can be many reasons why we may be feeling this way. We might literally be alone, so we've experienced either the end of a marriage or a relationship, or you may have never had either. We might be experiencing the grief of losing a loved one, and it's really natural that, this enormous loss is intensified during this time period. You might have financial constraints where you can't afford to go out and join in with your friendship groups by having meals and Christmas celebrations, or you might not be able to afford buying the presents that everyone is expecting. Then there's the advertising and the social expectation to enjoy the perfect Christmas. Of course, the social media, that doesn't help when every man and his dog are posting pictures of their own perfect Christmas catch-up and their own beautifully decorated tree with huge piles of presents underneath it. It all becomes too easy to compare that perfect picture with what we may not have ourselves. Now, we can also find ourselves feeling lonely even if we actually have a bunch of people in our lives. Now, personally, although I generally enjoy this time of year, if not only for the 2 weeks holiday that it provides, I also find that during this time, my depression and anxiety is exacerbated as well. And I often feel quite lonely at this time of year. Now, I'm surrounded by a very loving family, both immediate and extended. And when we get together for our annual Christmas lunch or our annual Christmas do, I absolutely love it. We have great food, we have good old-fashioned Aussie backyard cricket sessions, the inevitable hilarious toilet humour, and the latest thing is screaming at the TV while watching really bad D-grade movies on Christmas night. Who's got time to be lonely, right? But I do. I still find myself reflecting on the past year that's gone by, or even my life gone by, and what I could have or should have done differently. And thinking about, what can I do now to make up for the mistakes I've made, the many mistakes I've made? What can I do now to make up for the things that my children were put through that they didn't deserve during all those years? What were they forced to miss out on, etc., etc., all those kinds of things. And I often find myself spiraling with these thoughts, and I know that if I let these thoughts continue to fester, I'm going to inevitably end down that rabbit hole of darkness, and I'm going to end up in a state of depression. So I actually find myself taking a break. I deliberately take a break from social media. And this is so I don't have it constantly shoved in my face how good everybody else seems to have it. But you know what I do too? I remind myself that just because their Christmas table looks to be set perfectly and their tree is looking gorgeous and all stacked up, that doesn't necessarily mean that these people have got it all together either. Because remember, we can't actually see what's on the other side of that camera. They might be suffering just as much or even more than what we are. So for me, in the last few years in particular, you know what I've actually realised? I've realised that rather than looking backwards and wondering what could have been or what I could have done better, I found it more satisfying to actually have gratitude for the experiences that I've had, even the bad ones, to take stock of what I've learned from those experiences and to even look towards a better future. So I've started to begin dreaming about that future, to visualize it, plan for it like it is going to happen, and even plan for it as if it is already happening. So we need to stop seeing ourselves as the victim of whatever circumstance we are or were in. Now, this might sound cliche. It might even sound quite harsh. I get that. Because for years, for me, I had the mindset of poor me, woe is me. No one understands what I'm going through. I mean, my brother, who is only a couple of years younger than me, he has a very happy marriage. He is married to a beautiful woman. He's got 2 very beautiful children. And you know what? When I look at him, I see that he actually has now everything in life that I dreamt of having when I was first married myself. Now, don't get me wrong. I am so happy for him and everything that he has. But I have realized that rather than being jealous of him and comparing my situation to his, I think about the different life experiences that I have had and how they have helped me grow into the woman that I am today. And also how they've helped my children grow into themselves as well. And even though there's been so much crap in that past, do you know what? There has been a whole lot of good too. And that's what I choose to focus on. So what else can we do to combat that loneliness at Christmas time and maybe to stop ourselves getting into that depressive state? Well, the first thing to do, I would suggest, is to focus on yourself and just acknowledge how you feel. It is okay to not be okay. I can guarantee that you are not the only one out there feeling that way, and I can guarantee that you're definitely not the only one in your own friendship group feeling this way either. There's most likely at least one person, probably many, that feel this way. But rather than getting stuck in these negative thought patterns, why not do something for yourself that's going to make you feel better and something that you deserve? Because as a rule, us as abuse survivors are so used to putting ourselves dead last. And we do this to the extreme at Christmas time. You know, we are so busy trying to create the perfect Christmas for our family and in particular our children that we forget about ourselves. I just want to say, what about you? You are allowed to enjoy yourself just as much as everybody else does. Now, one thing I used to do is when I was single is I used to go out and splurge on something for myself that I'd been thinking or dreaming of all year. even if it was something really simple, like an item of clothing or even a kitchen appliance. Once I even took myself out to get my hair and nails done. Now, this is going to seem like something really small and simple for some people, but when you haven't had the money to afford or you haven't had time to get a decent haircut all year, this feels absolutely incredible. This year, my present to myself is a little bit different. I have chosen to give back to a charity. Now, I've been through my fair share of crappy experiences, as you know, but now I'm really lucky. I have an amazing partner. He is the love of my life. His name's Craig, and he's my rock, and we support each other in everything that we do. I don't need or want a lot of physical items. I'm really happy with the simple life that we live together. So I thought, well, why not give instead? And through the help of another networking group that I'm in, I chose the charity Share the Dignity and the It's in the Bag project, where you get an old secondhand handbag that's in good condition and you fill it with special items that are going to spoil a special lady in need. And I got to tell you, doing this felt absolutely amazing. When I actually began putting the goodies in the bag, I was actually in quite a depressive state myself. As I mentioned, this is quite normal for me this time of year. But as I kept filling the bag up and I was putting thought into what I would put in it, I was thinking, if this was me, what would I enjoy? And then I actually began to imagine the lady on the other end who would be opening this on Christmas Day. And I actually found myself crying for her because I could feel her gratitude as someone out there who knew and understood what she was going through. And even that there was someone that cared enough to do this for her. I'm going to tell you, I will be doing this every year from now on because it just felt so good. And I know that, now I have some things in life that I didn't have a few years ago, and I just want to continue to help other people in need. So also often as abuse survivors, we have been isolated from family and friends. Now that can be either by force or by choice. So this might be a great time of year to try to reconnect with those that we've lost contact with, those that we love. They might have no idea what's been happening for you or what you've been experiencing. I do want to just say, though, be warned that not everybody is going to be as understanding as others when you all of a sudden come back into their lives, and might take them a little while to warm up to you again. But there are definitely going to be people who will welcome you with open arms. They'll take hold of you, they'll support, and they will love you just as you need and just as you deserve to be loved. Now, on the other hand, if you don't feel ready to do this, if you don't feel ready to reconnect with people yet, why not hang out at a local church or a social group, or a community centre in your area? These are places that more often than not, they provide special Christmas lunches or meals for other people like you and gift wrapping sessions. And when you join in with something like this, it's highly likely that by attending one of these events, you will actually meet and make lifelong friends with people who understand each other. And they're going to become part of your friendship tribe. Now, you might even want to take that one step further and host an orphan Christmas yourself. I know that when my daughter was living in Sydney for a few years while studying, her and her housemates often did this with their fellow uni mates because they were all away from their families. And I've got to tell you, they seem to be having more fun than what we were having at home. But no, seriously, this is a great way to combat both your own and other people's loneliness. It doesn't have to be an expensive exercise. You can do a potluck dinner where everybody brings a plate of food and a drink to share. You might even ask someone to bring some decorations and you can decorate the room all together. You might like to do a Secret Santa so everyone gets a present, but you put a financial limit on how much people spend on those presents. You can even make a game out of who gets what present. And honestly, more often than not, these are the absolute best of celebrations where everybody enjoys a great belly laugh and everyone just goes away feeling the Christmas cheer. So, my lovelies, no matter where you are in your journey today or how you decide to spend your holiday period, I do pray that you all have a wonderful Christmas and a really, really happy New Year. And I look forward to sharing so much more with you in the Purple Warriors podcast in 2020. And we are going to take this podcast to the next level in the episodes to come. So I love you all and I will see you next year. I hope you enjoyed today's show and thanks for listening. If you would like to share your story of survival or you have a topic you would like to hear about on the program, reach out to me via email welcome@themotivationmama.com or find me, The Motivation Mama, on Instagram or Facebook. And don't forget, the greatest project that you will ever work on is you. Happy day, beautiful.